On this Monday night, mounting concerns about monkeypox in Canada. The criticism suggesting this vaccine campaign needs a shot in the arm.
The fact that it's not widely available now seems to be getting overlooked.
Intensifying infernos, the West Coast wildfires threatening hundreds of homes. Close call caught on camera. The brave bystanders rescuing a man from a raging bull, and the art of recovery.
It's the first time in my life I don't want to die anymore.
The young man painting with purpose and helping others heal.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Nitu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news. A U.S. drone strike in Afghanistan has killed Ayman al-Zawahiri, the leader of al-Qaeda and one of the world's most wanted terrorists.
Justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more.
U.S. President Joe Biden making an address from the White House tonight, but providing few details about the operation that killed the Egyptian surgeon who became a mastermind of jihad against the West. Al-Zawahiri oversaw the September 11th attacks and had been in hiding ever since. Following the 2011 killing of Osama bin Laden by U.S. Special Forces, al-Zawahiri took over as al-Qaeda's leader and remained a top target of Western anti-terror operations since. Biden confirmed there were no civilian deaths in the operation and none of al-Zawahiri's family was killed. Back here in Canada, monkeypox cases are rising, and so too are concerns health officials aren't moving fast enough to make sure everyone who wants the vaccine can get it. For now, the immunization is targeted at the gay community. As Seán O'Shea reports, some people are wondering if that's why the vaccine rollout isn't going any faster.
With Canadian monkeypox cases above 800, the global health emergency has now hit at least one unidentified Toronto homeless shelter. Public health officials in Canada's largest city have transferred a person who tested positive for the virus into an isolation and recovery site, a location originally designed for people diagnosed with COVID-19, while those deemed at high risk line up for vaccinations.
Everyone's trying to protect their health. It should just be widely available.
There were long lineups at the Toronto monkeypox vaccination clinic and some questions.
COVID-19 affected everybody, so it was available almost immediately for everybody, but this seems to be a really slow rollout for some reason.
At this pop-up vaccination clinic at Vancouver Pride on Sunday, there was strong interest in getting as much protection as possible.
People are incredibly thankful to be receiving their vaccines. Folks that are really scared about the infection, really scared about the virus going around.
The vaccine is targeted for now at the gay community.
He said with no stigma, no discrimination, and no moralization, the highest risk community right now is in the men who have sex with men community, especially those who are having multiple partners or multiple contacts.
But critics of how governments are sourcing and distributing the vaccine wonder if the effort would be faster if those at greatest risk weren't gay.
The fact that it's not widely available now seems to be getting overlooked, and that does seem to be a little bit unfair.
But there's a reason, says infectious diseases expert Dr. Isaac Bogosh.
There's a global shortage of this vaccine.
He says targeting the highest risk communities makes sense.
Appropriately, the vaccines and the public health programs are very tailored to that particular community. That might change with time. If we start to see cases in other cohorts in other areas.
So the focus now, get as many vaccines into the arms of those in the community who want it right now. Neetu.
Seán O'Shea in Toronto. Thanks, Seán. A growing wildfire in BC's Okanagan region has prompted more evacuation orders for a mountain resort village. The Karamias Creek wildfire was only sparked on Friday, but is moving fast. About 300 properties, including some homes on the province's largest First Nation reserve, are affected. This morning, officials estimated the fire covered about 400 hectares, but that has since changed to more than 2,000. Most of the fire is located in steep and inaccessible terrain, making it difficult to fight. To help, staff at Apex Mountain Ski Resort have fired up their snow-making machines, which can spray water about 45 meters away.
We did have crews and structure protection working overnight last night throughout the night to respond to this fire. We do anticipate that it did grow over the past 24 hours or so and is continuing to do so.
There is a heat warning in effect for the Okanagan, as well as a thunderstorm in the forecast, but temperatures are expected to be cooler over the next few days, which is expected to help firefighters. 2 bodies have been found in a burned-out car in Northern California on the trail of the largest wildfire in the state this year. The fast-moving McKinney fire first broke out Friday and has already forced more than 2,000 people to leave while destroying homes and critical infrastructure. More than 22,000 hectares have already burned, and the fire is completely uncontained. Officials say heavy smoke has hampered efforts to fight the fire from the air. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency for the county, which will help unlock funding and resources. In Kentucky, at least 35 people are dead after days of flooding caused by heavy rain. The region is already bracing for more rainfall forecast overnight into Tuesday as residents grapple with washed away homes, overflowed rivers, and mudslides. Washington has already declared a federal disaster to bring more aid and relief. The state governor warns many people are still unaccounted for, and the death toll will rise as search efforts expand.
There are hundreds of unaccounted for people minimum, and we just don't have a firm grasp on that. I wish we did. There are a lot of reasons why it's nearly impossible, but I want to make sure that we're not given either false hope or faulty information.
More than 10,000 residents are also reportedly still without power from the disaster. And later this week, the region will also be hit by excessive heat of up to 37 degrees. In Ukraine, Russian forces focused more overnight shelling on the port city of Mykolaiv, hitting a hospital trauma center. Firefighters rushed to the scene to try and contain the flames and limit the damage. A demining crew was also brought in to the site to make it safe for the emergency response. At this point, there is no word on the number of casualties. A number of residential and office buildings were also hit in the same barrage. The strategically important city borders the mostly Russian-occupied Kherson region. For the first time since Russia launched its invasion, a ship carrying Ukrainian grain left the port of Odesa. Under a UN-brokered deal, the Razoni and the ships to follow it should have safe passage through the Black Sea and onto global markets. As Redmond Shannon reports, the resumption of shipments of Ukrainian grain should help ease the global food crisis exacerbated by the invasion.
Under high security, preparations for a voyage delayed by more than 5 months. The Razoni is the first grain ship to leave Odesa since Russia's February invasion. Loaded with 26,000 tons of corn, it's bound for Lebanon via Turkey.
I am very happy, and my crew also too much happy to leave the Odesa port.
The Razoni is one of 17 grain vessels that had been stuck here since war broke out. The deal, brokered by the UN with the help of Turkey, allows them to leave. Ukraine will guide the ships through the mined waters, while Russia has agreed not to target the Black Sea port during the shipments. Crew members like Abdullah say it's a relief after a scary period in Odesa. Last month, Russian missiles hit the port just a day after the deal was agreed.
The merchant vessel Razoni is loaded with 2 commodities in short supply: corn and hope.
Hope that the grain trade from Ukraine can soon ramp up again to temper rising food prices, particularly in Africa and the Middle East. Russia and Ukraine are 2 of the biggest exporters of wheat and sunflower seeds. Those involved in the trade say getting stranded ships out is one thing, getting fresh vessels into Odesa will be another.
The main obstacle is the cost of insurance for ship owners. Still, we don't have firm conditions how much do they have to pay.
That cost will depend on the success of the Razoni's voyage and could yet deter some grain buyers.
I think the very first vessels will be old one, which is cheapest one, and small one.
Part of Turkey's role is to ensure that those ships won't smuggle arms into Ukraine. Despite the deep mistrust between Moscow and Kyiv, both welcomed the Razoni's departure. A very rare moment where the 2 sides agree. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
The Kremlin says a major reduction in the flow of energy to Europe is out of its hands. According to Russian energy giant Gazprom, a key turbine for the Nord Stream 1 pipeline has still not arrived on site after undergoing service in Canada. The company says a second turbine is showing defects. Last week, Russia cut the supply of natural gas through the pipeline to 20% of capacity, a move the European Union has called energy blackmail. New video shows the moment on Sunday when part of a huge and badly damaged silo collapsed near the Beirut waterfront. Back in August 2020, the silo was the site of one of the largest non-nuclear explosions ever recorded that killed 215 people, wounding more than 6,000 others and damaging thousands of buildings. That blast was caused by improperly stored ammonium nitrate, which is used as fertilizer and an explosive. Officials had issued a warning the wrecked structure could collapse further and say a fire had been smoldering inside for weeks. A rampaging bull at an Alberta rodeo. Coming up, the panic moments when the animal went after a man. Plus, the eroding confidence in the RCMP. There were some frightening moments at a running of the Bulls event in Alberta over the weekend, and a warning. While this video is tough to watch, everyone is said to be okay. A bull charged at a man, flipping him over before coming at him again. That's when Alberta MLA and UCP leadership candidate Leela Ahir jumped the fence, trying to stop the bull from trampling the man. Others joined in to help. Ahir, whose campaign manager tweeted this video, says the man was not injured and the bull is doing fine as well. Canada's National Police Force is under strain and under the microscope. The inquiry into the RCMP response to the 2020 Nova Scotia mass shooting is still ongoing. While the force's reputation has never recovered from a series of investigations and lawsuits over sexual harassment. As Ross Lord reports, some senior police managers are now admitting drastic measures could soon be required just for the force to maintain services.
It took more than 2 years, but the RCMP has finally admitted it came up short during the Portapique massacre that left 22 people murdered.
I'm truly sorry that we failed you.
Evidence of the Mass Casualty Commission's public inquiry shows a range of RCMP shortcomings, from containing the gunman to disjointed communication among members, with the general public, and to victims' families.
They need to start looking at trusting their members' judgment. I mean, that's the job they were hired for, and if you're not capable of doing that, then maybe they shouldn't be doing that job.
The RCMP's failures have led to some communities considering creating their own police forces, rather than continue contracting out to the Mounties. And according to some who study policing in Canada, evidence alleging political interference in the Portapique investigation could worsen an already shaky relationship.
If the police are just sort of in cahoots with the government and the appearance is to the public that they are operating politically, this is entirely problematic for police legitimacy and further contributes to the erosion of police legitimacy.
He says if public confidence is gone, so is effective policing.
When you have an erosion of trust, a lack of trust, the public are obviously less likely to cooperate with the police. I mean, why would they?
Rebuilding trust is impaired by chronic staff shortages. Following the massacre, the RCMP was forced to staff some Nova Scotia detachments with members who'd normally work in traffic services, leaving that division shorthanded. It's a measure senior Mounties fear they might soon need to repeat.
But the downstream effect of that is obvious. Road safety will potentially suffer.
In late August, more RCMP higher-ups are scheduled to testify at the public inquiry. Among the witnesses, Commissioner Brenda Luckie, as current controversies and the RCMP's role in future policing come under more scrutiny. Ross Lord, Global News.
Ahead, the squabble between Texas and Washington that's left countless migrants marooned in the U.S. Capitol. In the U.S., the Texas governor is locking horns with the mayor of Washington, D.C. as migrants from Mexico are being sent by the busload to the nation's capital. Muriel Bowser is calling the transport cruel political gamesmanship, and she's now asking the federal government for help as her city's resources are getting overwhelmed with migrants who have nowhere to live. Jennifer Johnson reports.
Busloads of migrants from Texas arrive in the nation's capital every week, over 4,000 seeking asylum in the past few months. The numbers are so overwhelming that Washington's mayor has asked the federal government to deploy the National Guard indefinitely.
I've asked for the deployment of the Guard as long as we need the Guard to deal with the humanitarian crisis that we expect to escalate.
The city is caught in the middle of a feud between Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Biden administration. Abbott vowed to bus undocumented migrants to D.C. if President Joe Biden didn't stop them from crossing into his state.
We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border.
The migrants say when they arrived in Texas, they were given the option to travel to Washington under false promises, never imagining they'd be left without food or shelter.
They told us with lies, they told us to come to DC, they have help here, they have work here, they offer you a job, they tell you that they're going to help you, but then they just drop you off here like an animal.
Many of the migrants are now sleeping outdoors in the summer heat on the grounds near the U.S. Capitol. Local charities are trying to help, but they can't keep up.
It's really difficult. The funds have run out, so we can't send people right away to their final destination. We have to remember the majority of people do not want to stay.
Charities are begging the D.C. government for money to provide basic necessities or send the migrants to other cities where they have family or friends.
We have never received any money from the D.C. government or any government. All our money has been grassroots raised.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency has given the city over $2 million in aid, but D.C.'s mayor is asking the White House for millions more.
We know that the federal government does this because we see this type of response with Afghan refugees, and now we see it with people who are coming to the United States from Ukraine.
In the meantime, migrants like Anna Karina are stranded. Their dreams of a better life in America lay shattered at the foot of the nation's capital. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.
The first January 6 defendant to go to trial has been sentenced to more than 7 years in prison. Prosecutors say Guy Reffitt led the mob, charging the police line outside the west steps of the U.S. Capitol while carrying a gun and zip ties. At the time, Reffitt was a member of the Texas 3 Percenters, a far-right militia, but now says he no longer wants to have any association with the group. Inspiration against addiction. Next, the artist drawing hope at the epicenter of BC's drug crisis. Today, Black communities across Canada are reflecting on their heritage and continuing calls for change on this Emancipation Day.
When you're broken down and tired.
Celebrations of Black history mixed with demands for more systemic action against racism in events like these in Halifax, as Black Canadians marked 188 years since Britain abolished slavery across the colonies. That saw more than 800,000 people of African descent freed in 1834, but not before millions were enslaved throughout the British Empire's history. As an epicenter of the toxic drug crisis, homelessness, and crime, Vancouver's downtown east side has a reputation as one of the toughest and most challenged neighborhoods in the entire country. But one Vancouver artist says the community has been both his inspiration and salvation, and he credits it for helping him overcome addiction and depression. Kristen Robinson has the story.
Being able to set up for a public art show every Saturday has been a long journey for Chris Blake Cook.
Well, I never thought I would survive myself long enough to see any of my dreams come true.
How much is that one?
I have a list, I just gotta find it.
Few buyers are aware the young artist emerged from darkness. While battling depression in Alberta at the start of COVID, Cook turned to hard drugs and alcohol. He says he tried suicide 3 times before a friend encouraged him to move to Vancouver.
And I was just trying to escape the chaos in my head.
By November 2020, Cook was painting a new path. Living at Union Gospel Mission, he tried to stay sober, but relapsed before entering recovery after a 6th suicide attempt last August. He started to draw, gifting his art to the guys in the program.
I would hear, hey, you know that drawing you gave me? I look at that every day and it gets me through the day. So I was like, whoa, my art is doing something I didn't see, right? So this is like one of the first ones trapped inside my mind.
Cook's healing documented through his art.
It still showcased the pain, but now you can see the light in the pain, right?
When he graduated, Cook started posting his work. It got noticed. He sold 15 pieces at his first show with the Downtown East Side Artists Collective.
I walk home with this big smile. I was like, it's the first time in my life I don't want to die anymore. It felt really good.
Cook realized he had a purpose. This piece, Loved, was designed as a tattoo to cover up scars. A hard one for him to sell until he shared the story with the right person.
She said, wow, now I really have to buy it. And I said, oh, why is that? And she said, well, I have a tattoo on my wrist to cover up my suicide attempt. She shared it online and it helped other people and felt good.
While the Downtown East Side can be cruel, Cook says it saved his life.
I learned that I had to go through all that pain so I could help other people. And the people here that are using, they just haven't been able to process their pain and trauma, but they don't deserve to die.
Everyone needs to know they're loved, he says, and be treated with kindness and compassion.
Having a safe place to live and some friends that actually cared about me, yeah, it saved me, and I was able to be here today.
Kristen Robinson, Global News.
And that's Global National for this Monday. Tonight's Your Canada is the Stratford Festival Theatre in Stratford, Ontario. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.